Hey everybody, Willie here for the weekly news recap for the 14th to the 20th of August 2023. So, let's get into it. Okay, so some updates first, as we do. Game named Quantum Error has a release date. Story trailer just out this week. Quantum Error is effectively future fireman in space. I guess there's like responding to some kind of emergency situation in like 2040 something, and horror shenanigans transpire. It looks pretty good, mostly because I think it's running on Unreal 5. This will be one of the first games using Unreal 5. So we'll see how that turns out. We have a release date for it in November, I think, at some point. As you can see, it is over the shoulder, although I do believe there are some first-person segments. Sworn it was this trailer I saw the first person segments in. I know there's a bit where he's walking around with like a fireman's axe and a big hammer and stuff. Thought that was first person. Probably just got no, that's first person. So there's got first person and third person. I don't know. Maybe the third person bit was cutscene. Anyway, yeah, there's a bit of Dead Space going on there as well, but you know, entirely first person, so maybe it doesn't work out that way. Anyway, its release date is November, I think, 3rd of November. American dates. There is no. We're well past March at this point, so it must be November. Okay. Anyway, that is Quantum Error, coming out on all current gen systems. Assassin's Creed Mirage release date has been moved up for some reason. They have pushed it a week early, so instead of its original release date of 12th of October, it's now going to be the 5th of October. This will, of course, give it a slightly bigger gap between other games coming out that month, like Lords of the Fallen, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Wonder, etc. There's quite a few more. This does also put it a bit closer to Starfield, though, so it's almost like putting all your games out at the end of the year, guys. It's not a smart move. Not a smart move. Why do you all do this? There was 3 months in the middle of summer where nothing fucking came out. Why didn't you bring your games out then? Anyway. Like a Dragon Gaiden, or Like a Dragon Other Story, The Man Who Erased His Name, got another trailer to kind of show off a bit of the gameplay this time. The first trailer was very just more of a teaser, really, whereas this one is showing off actual like story elements, gameplay elements, stuff like that. So we're gonna skip past the story bit because, you know, play the game, obviously, if you want to do that. You get to the gameplay sections, still in story. Like a Dragon and Yakuza is very heavy on the story. You might imagine. Yeah, okay, here we are, we're into gameplay. So, you know, brawler type things. In this situation, the main character, who's not called Kiryu, even though it very much is Kiryu, is like a secret agent, special agent type guy, and he's got like gadgets and shit that help him out in combat, and then he has his other style, which goes back to the original games. A bit, you know, more brawlery type in that. And there's a bunch of side activities and stuff like that. But one thing I wanted to show, because I've seen it at least in my Twitter areas. I can get to the cabaret stuff. So in Japan, there is this kind of host bar stuff where you go to a pub or a bar and you like pay to have a person hang out with you. You know, a man or a woman, and that's what that was. And in this game, it's going to be live action. But one thing I wanted to show That pool? If you recognize that pool, welcome. Welcome, fellow degenerates. Alright, anyway. That's Like a Dragon Guide and the Man Who Raised His Name. Right. Moving on. It is about halfway through the month, which is when Game Pass typically adds more games. So this halfway through August, they're going to be adding Firewatch, Gris, Sea of Stars, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Although I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is already out, so you could be playing that right now if you wanted to. So, coming soon, Firewatch, August 17th, which is past now. Firewatch is a walkie sim, but it's a walkie-talkie sim almost. So it's a walking sim game. You walk around a forest. You are a interim park ranger kind of thing. You're trying to get away from your mundane life, and you've decided to be park ranger for the summer season. Not sure how you managed to pull that off, but whatever. And there's eventual stories, mysteries going on in the park. You strike up a friendship with a nearby park ranger. It's really well written, and the voice acting is very good. But of course, it's a walking sim, so there's not a whole lot of gameplay to it. But the gameplay that's there is very good, very fun. It's very responsive to your choices, and there's a lot of dialogue you'll miss your first time playing through. Let's put it that way. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a asymmetric horror multiplayer type thing. So think Dead by Daylight, but it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre instead. This is actually from the people who made the Friday the 13th game, which was then shuttered because of licensing issues. So hopefully they don't have the same problem with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I did read an interview with the developers that said that this shouldn't be a problem because they are speaking directly with the sole license owner of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Whereas Friday the 13th, the licenses were split amongst a bunch of people, and there was a lot of conflict over who actually owned the rights to certain things, that kind of thing. Sea of Stars is available next week, I think. No, the week after next. That's when it's actually launching. It's also going to be launching on PlayStation Plus as well as Switch and PC and various other things. Sea of Star is a kind of throwback to Chrono Trigger and kind of the late SNES era JRPGs. We played a little bit of it as part of Steam Next Fest in July. Thought it was really good. So I'm actually quite looking forward to that. Gris is September, so that's going to be one of the first games of the Game Pass of next month rather. Gris is a side-scrolling platformer type thing, so kind of like Limbo, but it's nowhere near as punishing as Limbo, and its physics puzzles aren't as involved. Gris is a lot more of a emotive narrative experience kind of thing with some light puzzle, light platforming stuff. It's about bringing color back to a grey world. Gris means grey in French. It's good. I really like Gris. I would encourage you, since it's on Game Pass, and if you have Game Pass, go give it a shot. Right, moving on. New releases. So, those are some of the games you can play soon. In some cases, right now if you want to. One of the games you can play right now. You can play En Garde on Switch. En Garde is a fencing brawler type game, so it's a bit of like a sandbox kind of thing. It is very humorous. The one-liners you're not going to get here, but it's very funny, very very funny. We played a little bit of it Steam Next Fest. It's like Zorro, basically, female Zorro if you prefer. Very flamboyant, very campy. There's a lot of quotes from older films that would have had a lot of fencing in them, but you can see it very much does not take itself seriously, even though the gameplay is kind of tough. The parrying and dealing with multiple enemies, taking them off guard, dealing with shielded enemies, unblockables, that kind of stuff. It can be difficult if you want it to be, but there are quite a few accessibility options as well. Again, we played the demo. It's very good. I'm looking forward to playing more of it myself. Okay, moving on. And we also have Bomb Wars Cyberpunk is available now on Switch and PC. If you wait a week or 2 weeks, it'll be available on PlayStation 5 and Xbox. So Bomb Wars Cyberpunk is a spiritual successor, homage, follow-up to Jet Set Radio. So just think Tony Hawk's Skater, kind of in slightly cyberpunky future, heavy cell shaded art style, a bit over the top characters and stuff like that. But gameplay wise, it does plays a little bit like Tony Hawk's, a little bit, not too much. It's much faster, but the tricks aren't quite as difficult to pull off, kind of thing. So I don't know. I like it. Jet Set Radio is a good game, and I'm looking forward to playing a bit of Bomber Cyberpunk when it's out on maybe PS5 or Xbox or something like that, because it's a little bit more easier for me to play on those consoles. So look for that in a Fully Plays Games a bit sometime, whenever it comes up in the rotation. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is the latest game from the developers of the Red Strings Club and Gods Will Be Watching. So both of those games, very good stories, really well written. They are a bit on the visual novel side, so it's like mostly its story and not a huge amount of gameplay. Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is still visually novel-y kind of thing, but it is also a deck builder card game kind of thing. Although it doesn't go like nuts, it's not going to be like Magic the Gathering kind of shit. It's going to be a little bit simpler than that. But this developer, I forget their name, unfortunately, but they write good shit. So yeah, looking forward to this one too. Yeah, some good games. It's like, why do they wait till the end of the year to bring out all the games? It's like the start of the year and the end of the year, and then fucking nothing in the middle when everybody. Well, I guess everyone's on holidays or whatever, but I'm not. I don't go on holidays anyway. It is now time to talk about the worst parts of video games, the video game industry. So, Rockstar hires a team of modders it had previously banned from playing GTA 5. So this is news that Rockstar have bought Crossfire, which is a GTA 5 Red Dead Redemption multiplayer role-playing server mod thing. Previously, they had been banned from GTA 5, from GTA Online specifically, because something. What was the quote? 5M project. This is the multiplayer thing. Is an unauthorized alternate multiplayer service that contains code designed to facilitate piracy. Our policy on such violations of our terms of service are clear, and the individuals involved in its creation have had their social club accounts suspended. So, their response at the time, this is a couple of years ago now. At the time, the mods developers just built their own launcher. But yeah, you were kind of skating on thin ice if you decided to use it. Whether or not Rockstar would ban you for no reason. But apparently now they're proud to welcome them to the Rockstar Games team, even though nothing has changed. Modders were banned from the game back in 2015, despite attempting to comply with Rockstar's rules. But today we are proud to announce that Crossfire, the team behind the biggest Rockstar role-playing creator communities, 5M and Red M, are now officially a part of Rockstar Games. What changed? Nothing. Literally nothing changed. They just decided to buy them now. Over the past few years, we've watched with excitement as Rockstar's creative community have found new ways to expand the possibilities of Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, particularly to the creation of dedicated roleplay servers. We've watched with excitement by banning them. Okay. Maybe they've changed their mind about mods. Maybe they're ready. Maybe Rockstar is finally ready to embrace the modding community. What do you think? GTA 5 AI mod taken down by Take-Two Lawyers. Okay, we spoke too soon, I guess. The hostile attitude towards me and the mod is very disheartening. So this is a different type of mod that Rockstar have again decided to just ban for no reason. It uses AI to generate free conversations with NPCs. The Nexus mod listings and its YouTube video showcase have all been taken down from copyright claims, which is kind of bullshit. Rockstar would not have cause for copyright claim on this mod and no other mod. Like anything this mod would do, every other mod is doing. It would have no claim of copyright here. So the fact that it can get away with that is not great. No one from Take-Two Interactive contacted and asked me anything prior to this. They just took down the video out of nowhere. Said the developer who believes this was a deliberate manual it says DCMA, but it's DMCA takedown request and not automated. It's obviously not automated because more mods would have been hit by it if that was the case. More videos off YouTube would have been hit by it if that was the case. As pointed out here by the developer themselves, it's kind of the same thing I was saying. If the real reason of this takedown is really me using GTA 5 in the video, then one might ask, if using GTA 5 in the video is a copyright strike reason, how is it possible that there are millions of YouTube videos on here at this very moment that showcase or simply do Let's Play videos for over a decade without any problems? Exactly. Why aren't they being taken down? Because it's the exact same situation. Nothing in the mod belongs to Rockstar, doesn't modify anything about it. Unfortunately, this seems to look like an excuse to attack and take a stance against the mod. I am a single modder who does this in my free time for fun. I don't have the resources to legally defend myself in this situation. Knowing that large corporations can issue strikes based on arbitrary reasons, which can cause your work to go in vain in moments, is discouraging to say the least. Yeah, well, that's YouTube's policy of take things down and then litigate it afterwards. Only benefits big players. Doesn't benefit the little guy in any way whatsoever. If you don't have the money to litigate it, which who the fuck has the money to go against Rockstar and Take-Two? You know, they could just buy Zynga for cash. Like, they're not hurting for money anyway. This is very funny though, because he does tag on at the end of this the exact same quote about Rockstar embracing role-player mods. Rockstar Games has always believed in reasonable fan creativity and wants creators to showcase their passion for our games. Obviously not. Obviously not. Rockstar have simply found a way that they probably are going to find a way to monetize those roleplay things. Just wait. Just wait. Anyway, moving on. Embracer's $2 billion deal that blew up was with Saudi Arabia. So this was maybe a month ago, maybe a bit longer. Embracer Group sort of imploded a little bit. Their stock plummeted earlier this year when a mystery $2 billion deal collapsed at the last minute. Nobody was named at the time. Late last night, we were informed that one major strategic partnership that has been negotiated for 7 months will not materialize. Lars Wingerfors, CEO of Embracer. You might know Embracer from the people who are buying your childhood. Basically, they're buying up a lot of the IPs from the PS2, early PS3 era that have been kind of languishing and doing nothing, that aren't already attached to bigger publishers. And the idea was, and the hope was, that they would then resurrect them and, do new things with them. But this deal falling through means Embracer are shutting down a lot of projects, closing a lot of studios and stuff like that. They were really banking on this money coming through. But it turns out it wasn't Microsoft, it wasn't Sony, it wasn't Square Enix, Nintendo, whoever. It was the Savvy Games Group, who you may know, because I have talked about them a couple of times, but they are backed by Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which is led by Prince Bonesaw. So, yeah, not great. Not great that you're relying on money from the kind of... Anyway, that's a lot of... It's not greenwashing, what is it? It's like profile washing or reputation washing or something like that. It's like you just throw a bunch of money at things people like. If your name's attached to it, maybe they'll start to not think of you as Prince Bonesaw, but I don't think that's going away. Anyway, the Savvy Games Group, led by CEO Brian Ward, a longtime gaming industry exec who worked at... Prepare yourselves now, you're going to be shocked. Worked at Activision and Electronic Arts, is head of the Savvy Games Group, which is sponsored by Prince Bonesaw. Is anybody actually surprised? It is unclear why the Savvy Games Group eventually walked away from the deal. Maybe they got a better one later. Maybe he found a diamond Bonesaw he liked more. It and other big gaming companies like EA and Nintendo have all drawn criticism. So EA and Nintendo have also accepted funding from a country's track record on human rights abuses aren't exactly amazing. So, it's blood money. We don't really want it. But hey, capitalism. Capitalism gonna capitalism. Anyway, moving on. And it decides to load. Microsoft rolls out strike-based system for Xbox. So they have... Microsoft have rolled out an 8-strike system for multiplayer Xbox Online stuff. So violations include hate speech, profanity, cheating, and harassment. A player that amasses 8 strikes will be banned from using Xbox services such as multiplayer and voice communication for a year. I would argue if you've managed to rack up 8 strikes, you should just be banned outright. Additionally, Vice President McCarthy, corporate vice president of Xbox, just of Xbox, okay, Dave McCarty, said that 1% of the Xbox user base receives any enforcement, and only 1/3 of that percentage receive another action. Does that seem low to you? 1% of the Xbox user base receives enforcement. That seems kind of low. You know, it seems like maybe it should be higher than that. Maybe you should be enforcing this a bit better. Speaking of that, toxic gamers hurting multiplayer games, business study finds. Yeah, big fucking shock on that one. In news that surprises absolutely nobody, except for Dave McCarthy, apparently. A new study has found that toxic gamers in multiplayer games are hurting businesses by discouraging a large number of gamers from playing. So this was a study conducted by mental health nonprofit Take This in partnership with Nielsen. Approximately 2.3 thousand teens, 2,300 teens and adults in North America were polled. So, you know, it's a small window, but it's significant enough that's a fairly large chunk. North America are a fairly large chunk of the video game industry consumer base, and the study found that 6 out of 10 players felt discouraged from spending money in a game where they were treated poorly. 6 out of 10 quit playing games within which they were subjected to harassment. 7 out of 10 players avoided a game entirely due to poor community reputation, and men were more likely to reduce engagement with games over toxicity than women, which was surprising. But I guess it's the case that maybe women are just used to it, which is damning and kind of sad. The world in general, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, the study also found that players under 18 take a firmer stance against toxicity than those over 18, suggesting that younger players have a lower tolerance for abusive behavior, which is interesting because that was absolutely not the case when I would jump onto multiplayer when I was 17, 18. And did multiplayer gaming come in? I don't know, I'm an old man. It was almost always the under 18s that were vitriolic about that kind of thing. So it could be the case that maybe Gen Z or whatever the next gen is just less tolerant of that kind of thing. Anyway, this whole report, study, what have you, is arguing basically that if companies want to entice the next generation of consumers, they'll need to tackle this kind of issue. So do some actual work other than 1% of enforcement, maybe, Xbox. Xbox Live is like synonymous with toxicity, and they're just saying only 1% of the entire Xbox user base actually receives enforcement. That's damning. That is damning of your service. That is not a good thing. That is a bad thing. Anyway, moving on. This is the research project itself. I only have it here in the list so that I can add it to the links in the paste bin under the description of this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this live, just go search for it. I can't link things when it's live. Just go search for it. Research report: toxic gamers are alienating your core demographic. The business case for community management. It's a short one. It's 9 pages, 10 pages, I think. It's 9 pages, but one of them is this cover page, so it's 8 pages. Some important things. It's kind of stuff I already said. Males are more likely to quit a game because of harassment than females. Younger players are more likely to take action against groups that are toxic, and 7 out of 10 players have avoided playing certain games because of the reputation of the community. Looking at you, Legends. Moving on. Sega says Hyenas has been a challenging title and it's adjusting its business model. The game isn't even out yet. Not even out yet, and they're adjusting the business model already. They have said previously that the game would not be free to play. I have a suspicion they're going to change their minds on that one. Hyenas was revealed in June. It's an extraction multiplayer thing. It's 5 teams of 3 versus each other and the environment to extract various MacGuffins out of the map. At the time of its announcement, Creative Assembly said the game would not go free to play. However, executives were asked during an earnings call, asked if they could provide an update on the game, such as its business model and expected impact on earnings during a Q&A session. They said, no. They said, we are unable to talk about this title because the details have not yet been announced at this time. As this is a challenging title, we are striving to improve its quality towards the release on the front line of development. We are also making final adjustments to its business model in parallel, yada yada yada. Game comes out in like a week. Hyenas will be publicly available to play for the first time from August 23rd to 27th. Oh, that's like a preview. Actual game coming. It was meant to be this year at some point. Players can register for the beta. Be from August 31st, September 11th. Okay, I must have misread that. I thought it was coming out later this year. I think it is still coming out later this year, but I thought the beta was its actual release date. But still, this is extremely close to release, and you still haven't figured out what you want to do with the actual business plan of the game. One, you're already trying to add yet another fully priced live service game into a market that is saturated and buckling from them. Like, players are rebuffing these games now. They don't want to play them anymore. They have the game they want to play. They've invested their time in it. And because of the way these games are made, they have to invest even more time in it if they want to get the most out of it. There's no time for a new game. Your game would have to massively stand out. Like, be a completely different thing. Not just the same thing again. You know? Like, there's nothing new here. Extraction shooters have been a thing for ages now. And there's Hyenas coming, and then there's fucking Porn Stars or whatever the fuck the PlayStation one is going to be called. I forget what it's called. That is effectively the exact same game. Like, what are you doing? Make something else. The market is not there for it. You're just wasting the developer's time and money. Anyway, moving on. Analysis. More than 220 digital games will disappear from the Xbox 360 store closes. So, this is news that the Xbox 360 store from July 29, 2024 will no longer be possible to buy games or DLC from the 360 store or from the 360 marketplace site. So you can't even do it online or on the website, which you can, I think, still do on the PlayStation 3 and the PSN. If you, do some shenanigans with the URL, you can figure out how to get to it. So, the way Xbox works and why this isn't as big an issue as shutting down the PS3 PSN store, as it is for like PlayStation or eShop or that kind of thing, it's because Xbox has pretty good backwards compatibility all the way to 360. But it is not comprehensive. Like, it does miss games. If you can access the physical copy, you're fine. You can always just play the disc. Of course, the discs aren't being printed anymore for some games, so they are a limited commodity. This can break, wear down over time, go missing, etc. Just become faulty. Eventually those games will disappear and will not be playable anymore physically. Digital ones, you can argue as long as the servers stay up, you're fine. It's a case of whether or not Microsoft will keep those servers up. But there are a couple of games that one, are not backwards compatible, and then two, don't have a physical version, and then three, don't have a port. So they are effectively locked to the Xbox 360 store, and that's the only way you can access them. At least in that particular incarnation. So some of the games we're going to be talking about here do have updated or upgraded versions that were made for, at the time, next gen, current gen consoles, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, Xbox One. But it is important that you keep the original version of the game, for games preservation reasons, for historical reasons, for posterity, that kind of thing. And just because the game is bad, or you don't like it, or it's bland and uninteresting, or whatever, that's not the point. The point is, game preservation isn't a selective process, and that every version of a game is of equal importance in that game's history. Even the DS version of Mortal Kombat, Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat 1, garbage. But it's still important that it's there, because you need to see what the mistakes are or what the mistakes aren't, or where they went wrong, where they went right, and so on. Like, these things are important to keep. So VGC have a list of 220 games that are, 1, not backwards compatible, 2, are digital only, and 3, do not have any other way of accessing them that is actually at least through Xbox. Again, some of these later did get ports, but the point is this is the original version of them. that will not be available anymore. So I've highlighted some of them. The ones in red are not great, and the ones in orange are actually quite good. Amy is a really bad escort horror game. It's terrible, but it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so good. You know, you just play it and go, how did you think this was okay? How did the developer think this was okay? Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate is a kind of a Metroidvania Batman side-scrolling kind of thing. It was a handheld game once upon a time, PS Vita, and then it was made a digital game. But yeah, there is actually currently no other way to play this. I think at this point now it's only available on Xbox 360. Like the PS Vita stores, unless you had already bought it, you can't access it anymore. This is, I think, like one of the only ways you can get this now. I'm not sure if it got a PC port. I have not checked. Bastion is there as well, which is an amazing game, but it's everywhere. Not too super inclined that you should get the original version of that necessarily. But I suppose as going back to this thing that says it's not up to me. These are my like purely selective reasons, but all of these should be retained. Bionic Commando Rearmed is an excellent remake of the original Bionic Commando. It's so good. The sequel is not, but the original is amazing. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons again is also really interesting gameplay wise, in that you're controlling two characters at once with the two analog sticks. It is the first game from Hazelight, so they're the people who do It Takes Two, A Way Out. Those games were all critically well received. Brothers is where they started doing that kind of thing. It's important that that be retained. Darkstalkers Resurrection is a remaster of the original Darkstalkers game. Darkstalkers gets shit on a lot by Capcom, the developers themselves. Like, it's just massively overshadowed by Street Fighter. But Darkstalkers is a good game as well, and really should be preserved for that reason alone. Just an Elysian Tale, very good side-scrolling brawler type game. If you're a furry, you probably already knew. Mark of the Ninja is also a really good side-scrolling stealth game. Again, this has a PC version that is superior, but again, it is important that you keep every version of the game. Mighty Number 9 is probably the game that torpedoed video game Kickstarters. It is the video game Kickstarter case study of why people don't back games on Kickstarter anymore. Yeah, not great. Resident Evil HD, it should be, is very good. Resident Evil 0, not. They should both be kept. The original State of Decay, as far as I'm aware, is the only way to play it now. I don't think it got a PC port. And then the various Street Fighters, again, keep every version of them. Strider, the new one, Strider HD or whatever it was called. Excellent. More people should play that. Tales from the Borderlands is very good. New Tales from the Borderlands is not. Valiant Hearts: The Great War, again, has had better ports on PC. It's now owned by Netflix, and their management of it has been a lot better. But again, this is the original version of it. You should try to give that a shot. And The Wolf Among Us, again, can't get it other places, but this is its original version. I think it's important that people see it and see what the improvements were. Anyway, moving on. So this is kind of just following on from a really stupid story we did, I think it was last week, where Overwatch 2 was added to Steam after many, many years of being out and being on Battle.net, Blizzard's proprietary launcher, which does not allow community reviews, whereas Valve and Steam very much do and encourage community reviews. And Overwatch 2 was panned immediately. Like, this is years of vitriol just built up, and they finally had an outlet for it. And it's being characterized as review bombing, but it's not review bombing. Review bombing is when people just dump negative reviews because of some other reason than the game itself. It's not because they don't like the game. Or, yeah, it's because of some other thing. It's because the usual shitty reasons like LGBT representation or wokeism or whatever, that kind of stuff tends to what happens with review bombing. And then there's the other end of the thing, you know, they might find that the developer is being particularly shit or anti-consumer or various other things that might also result in review bombing and that kind of thing. But this isn't review bombing. This is just, they finally have an outlet. That's it. It's just built up. The dam has burst. And it might look like review bombing because it's a lot of negative reviews in a very short amount of time, but it's not the same thing. Like, review bombing is like way after the game has even come out in the first place. Anyway, majority of players voiced their disappointment with Overwatch 2 failing to deliver on its once promised story mode. So the whole reason Overwatch 2 is even a thing is because they said, we want to do story shit with Overwatch. But we can't do that on the original Overwatch code, so we need to make a sequel. And we're going to bring all the stuff over from the first game into the second game, and you'll all have one place to play all of it, and it'll be great. And people were like, okay, we'll go with you. That. Give you a reason for why all of the effort and time we've put into the original Overwatch can't just be brought across. And then they reneged on all of that. And just said, haha, lol, pay us more money to just do the stuff you could have done in the original game for free. Our goal with Overwatch 2 has been to make the game more accessible than ever for more people than ever before, and that's why we charge you lots of money for just a hero. Okay, if we can't turn back the clock, then what can we do? You literally can. You are the developer. Literally just say, hey, why don't we just make this work? Spend the time. Maybe don't do another season so soon. Maybe skip the next like 4 seasons. And work on this thing instead. But no. Instead, we're just going to go more maps, more heroes, and game modes, and missions, and stories, except we aren't doing stories. No way set stories. Cool cosmetics and features, and an ever-expanding, evolving, yada yada. We're not listening. We are not listening to your issues at all. We're just going to keep going with the Battle Pass season shit that everyone was pissed off about in the first place, and not giving you the thing that we said we'd give you, and the whole reason for the sequel's existence in the first place. We just won't do that. Another thing that was brought up, and I only really saw it on Twitter, so a lot of publications aren't really talking about it, but a lot of the negative reviews are actually coming from China, and not for a bad reason. Not for like a subversive reason necessarily. It's coming because we did a story. I read a story on NetEase and Activision, or Activision Blizzard, and them having Blizzard having to partner with NetEase in China in order to get around regulatory restrictions in like an outsider or a foreign company selling products in China is not allowed. You have to partner with a Chinese company, and the Chinese company will then sell your products. So that's what NetEase does. For Blizzard, they would sell Diablo, Warcraft, Overwatch, so on. And they couldn't come to an agreement to continue their contract. Something. Activision Blizzard wanted more money, or I think Blizzard wanted like protection, literally protection money, but not like a mob. Well, kind of a little bit like a mob. Basically, Blizzard wanted like collateral cash just in case NetEase weren't able to do some deal with the Chinese government. And NetEase, in response, or not necessarily in retaliation, but I think it was more of like, you might want to check yourself, more or less, Activision Blizzard, to basically say that you kind of need us if you want to do the Microsoft merger thing. Like, if you want to be able to also still sell stuff in China when that happens, you're gonna need us. Like, the government is going to ask us about this stuff, and we're, you're gonna need us, kind of thing. As more of a, like more of a friendly, not friendly, but you know what I mean. It wasn't meant to be a threat, basically, but that's the way Activision took it, and that deal fell apart. So now there is no way to access Blizzard games in China right now. So people who had like made friends or have been playing the games for a long time or invested a lot of money in those kind of games and so on, they just have lost access through no fault of their own, just because of some corporate bullshit. But that's where a pretty sizable chunk of the negative reviews are coming from, and the rest of them are these just people being pissed off that the game isn't what you said it was going to be, and you're making no attempts to not make the game like that. And then the other ones are like, the game sucks, but the porn is good. It's what we talked about last week. Pretty funny. Anyway, I think that is it. It is. Okay, so let us leave Ungathered. Right. That then is the news for the 14th to the 20th of August 2023. So Quantum Error looks kind of interesting. It's got a release date early in November, like a first-person horror fireman science fiction type thing. I don't know. Looks good. It's looks like to me it's Unreal Engine 5. I actually do need to confirm that, but that's what it looks like to me. Assassin's Creed Mirage being brought forward by 1 week. Weird, but yeah, fine. Give themselves a bit more space away from much bigger games that are coming out at the same time or in and around the same time. But it's also pushing it closer to other games, other bigger games, because everyone is deciding to bring all their games out in the last like 4 months of the year, for whatever reason. Anyway, as we're seeing here, On Guard, Bomber Cyberpunk, and the Cosmic Ghoul Sisterhood are all new games out this week. I think you should give them all a look. Game Pass has been refreshed, will be refreshed. We have Firewatch, Gree, Sea of Stars, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre will be coming to Xbox Game Pass in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Rockstar being a little duplicitous about their whole mod thing. So on one hand, they're like, yes, we welcome mods and community creativity. So much so that we bought out Crossfire, the roleplay server mod multiplayer guys. But at the same time, we banned this guy from doing AI mods. Now, whatever you might think about AI, necessarily, like, it's a mod, you can install it if you want, you can install it if you don't, or you can not install it if you want, and so on. Like, it's not changing anything. It was only affecting the single-player game, which Rockstar have said they are fine with mods for the single-player. It's the online they don't like you modding with because it fucks with their money, fucks with their cash cow. Yeah, Vive, they don't care. They made their money on that already. Knock yourselves out. Anyway, what else do we have? Microsoft getting rid of potentially 220 games that will be gone forever. They've also added their 8 strikes thing, but we've also seen a study or a survey that suggests that it is not being enforced well enough, and this 8 strikes thing won't really amount to much either. And Activision Blizzard don't understand where all the negative reviews are coming from for Overwatch 2, largely. But that's what it reads like to me. Anyway, that was the news, so we'll move on to our channel update for week/next week. So here is our game roadmap thing for the second half of 2023. As mentioned before, for people possibly who haven't seen this before, green borders, symbols mean the game has been featured on the channel. If you missed it, you can find it on youtube.com/doomtrain5, which is where we keep all of our archive VODs. Yellow means it is currently in progress. So we are either working our way through a let's play of it, or it's just paused for a bit and we'll come back to it soon. So Final Fantasy 16, we're still in progress on that. Monster Hunter, I do need to get back to. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective we started this week, and It Takes Two with Melwyn. We are doing that cooperatively, and I believe that's all the yellows. And then gray is it's on its way. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis soon. Not next week, but probably the week after. As well as a bunch of other things that will show up. So this week... Oh, right, also this week, this week we finished the original Final Fantasy, and we will be moving on to Final Fantasy 2 after Resident Evil Nemesis. So Resident Evil Nemesis will be first, and then we will play Final Fantasy 2. But this is the plan for the Foley Plays Final Fantasy series. So it is 26 games, 24 games? 4 rows of 6 columns, so 24. 24 games. I may add more. I may remove some. I don't know, but these are the planned games. I'm considering Final Fantasy Tactics. Even though it is not a mainline entry, it is one that is brought up a lot, that people really enjoyed, as well as Crystal Chronicles and Mystic Quest. So I'm considering those 3. Tactics is top of the list because it comes up the most, but I am considering the other 2 as well. Anyway, we will move on to Final Fantasy 2 after, as I said, after Resident Evil Nemesis. This week we also played Hi-Fi Rush as part of Foley Plays Games a Bit, which is a series where we play newly released games. Hi-Fi Rush is kind of skirting the edges of what I would consider newly released. Newly released for me is 6 months. Um, Hi-Fi Rush is January. We're skirting it. We're skirting it a little bit. It was the end of January. It's close enough. Anyway, we played this on the Steam Deck. Steam Deck worked fine. The game worked fine, but the Steam Deck itself had some kind of annoying technical issues for about your first 10 minutes of the stream or so. So that was kind of a pain in the hole. But whatever, we got through it and the game was mostly fine after that. I do like it. I like its presentation. I do like the gameplay. The part that I'm having difficulty with is just rhythm, as usual. And also, since we were playing it on stream, the game does have a streamer mode. I decided to go with it. I probably shouldn't have. The music in the streamer mode, they try, but it's not good. It's not great music, and you can't really get into the flow as the whole game game tries to get you to be like, yeah, just get into the rhythm and feel the music and feel the beat, and the combat will come from that. It's kind of hard to do when the music itself isn't very good. So I'm kind of hoping like the actual music, like the non-streamer mode music, is decent. And if we do stream it again, I think I will just go with that music. And if we get DMCA strikes, we get whatever. Anyway, that was Hi-Fi Rush. We then had, that's not the right button, it's that button. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, as I said, we started playing that this week as part of Foley Fables. Foley Fables is a series where we play games for their story. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, the idea is you are attempting to save the life of a woman. Problem is, you're dead. So how are you going to do that? Well, you've got ghost trick powers. So while you're a ghost, you can like interact with the environment and make things do things. Knock things over or activate buttons and stuff like that. Usually inanimate objects. Actually, entirely inanimate objects. And that's kind of the deal with it. It's kind of like Rube Goldberg your way through the whole level, through the scene to ensure people don't get killed. It is very funny. I really like it. And it's not surprising. It is from the same developer as the Ace Attorney series. And don't worry about the dog there. They survive. The dog is also amazing. Similarly. Anyway, we'll be playing more of that this week, if I can fit it in. More on that in a minute. But that is the new Foley thing, basically, until we finish it. We'll be continuing Final Fantasy 16. We are... Having never played it before, I actually can't tell you how far into the game we are. I feel like we're hitting the second half of it, if not further in. It's kind of where I feel where we are at. I'm still really enjoying it. Side content, not so much, because it's a lot of just back and forth and walking over to this person, press a button, walk over to the next person, press a button. The actual mainline story, incredible. The side content, not really, not great. Anyway, there's a little bit too much of that as well, to be honest. That was the last video. I did not need to. Anyway, schedule for next week. So we're not going to be doing a Foley Plays Games a bit this week because there won't have time for it. And we already have a Foley Fable, so we don't need to spin the wheel for that. But this thing over here, Gamescom, what's that? So opening night live will be on Tuesday, and then Gamescom is from the Wednesday through to Sunday. Gamescom is a games conference that takes place in Germany, in Cologne, usually around this time every year. A bunch of developers getting together, showing off their games. It is typically not a announcement conference. It's usually a game developers conference. Developers getting together and talking about how they make their games and stuff like that, as opposed to something like E3, which is, not really a thing anymore, but that's more where the marketing team gets together and shows off their games kind of thing. Gamescom isn't really like that. Opening night live is a Jeff Keighley event kind of thing. It will be happening Tuesday, 7 o'clock my time. I think that's, I'm pretty sure that's when it starts. That might just be the pre-show. But I am planning to watch that and stream it live, and, we'll react to it and so on. But I'm not expecting it to have announcements or what have you. Thanks for the follow, Haraya friend. Saw it come in there. Though I didn't get a proper notification for it, but anyway. Wednesday, Final Fantasy 16. I mostly need to make room this week because I said I am playing through Remnant 2 with a friend, so I do need to make an evening free when we can do that. Otherwise, be a million years and we'll never finish the game. Anyway, so Final Fantasy 16 will be on Wednesday. Thursday there won't be a stream because that's when I'll be doing the Remnant stuff. Friday I am planning D&D with friends as well, so probably won't be a stream. 50-50 on that one. That's not true. It's like more like 70-30. But anyway, Ghost Trick, we will make room for it on Saturday, so we'll play through Ghost Trick there. We might make a decent run at it at that point. Don't think we'll finish it. I think Ghost Trick feels like a 3-stream, 4-stream game. And then we'll be right back around to the weekly news recap. Anyway, that is the plan for next week. As I said in a couple of streams, in the Final Fantasy stream, I am planning to do a stream now, effectively in the next. Give myself some time to set up, so we'll say like 4 or something like that. We're going to finish off the little bit of Final Fantasy that is still left. The main game proper is done. There's just one more thing I need to do to get the Platinum Trophy, and we're going to do that. And then we will play a little bit of Theatrhythm, which is Final Fantasy music game. Where you just play music tracks from the series, so we're just going to play the ones from Final Fantasy. So have a bit of fun with that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm going to head off. Have a good rest of your day. If I don't see you, I will be back for It Takes Two later on. So I think that'll be around 8 o'clock or so. Stick around though. I'll be back in a little bit. We'll say 4:15. It is 5:04 right now. 20 minutes. Long enough for me to get everything set up. Probably more than long enough. And I'll see you guys there. Final Fantasy Theatrhythm. Just realized I had the stream out for all that. I can't fucking see the screen when I do that. Anyway, my microphone. Is my microphone in that scene? The microphone is in that scene. It works out. Alright, it works out. Whatever. Anyway, for really reals this time. See you guys later.